Part 119. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1181. Chapter 1181. The Vinegar King has a strong vinegar smell. 1. She had also learned about grooming for a period of time before, and how to make a woman wearing makeup cry like a pear blossom with raindrops, making people lovable. I didn't expect that. Not only did I cry ugly today, but I also cried like a crazy woman. No wonder I felt several eyes on me just now. It turned out that they were all looking at a joke. It's not too late, your tears just fall away. No wonder others say women are made of water. Today I have experienced it. Kenny said what he was saying, and he felt relaxed, open-minded, and open-minded. Worthy of a joke. The pain that penetrated into the bone marrow in my heart has also faded a lot. In fact, it is not that difficult to see her happily in the arms of other men. Maybe one day he will be able to stop feeling pain in his heart. It's so ugly, Jian-Yuman murmured in a low voice, turning her back to the window to block other people's eyes. Too ugly to be noticed anymore. I don't mind if you are ugly, Kenny said with a chuckle, still squatting beside her, and handed out another handkerchief. The one in her hand was already dirty. As Kenny said, he didn't mind how ugly she was at all, because he had seen uglier people, so that didn't matter. How many times had Jian-Yuman embarrassed himself in front of him and done crazy and funny things? He didn't accept it with a smile. His little heart had long been trained to be indestructible. You kid, what are you doing? You made my woman cry. At this moment, an unpleasant magnetic voice sounded. Before Jian-Yuman could even turn around, a huge change happened behind her. When she turned around, she saw Kenny falling to the ground. The person who suddenly appeared and pushed Kenny to the ground was none other than the jealous Wang Tangyuj. Tangyuj saw Jian-Yuman and Kenny talking from a distance. Jian-Yuman started crying while talking, and Kenny came to take advantage. Seeing his woman being made to cry, Tangyuj immediately spread his wings and flew over. Tangyuj appeared because he received a report from his subordinates that Jian-Yuman was taken away today, and he was still a foreign boy. His blonde hair immediately made Tangyuj identify that he was his love rival Kenny Bryce. This dangerous guy, this guy is a more terrifying love rival than Su Warong. He has not forgotten that his woman had an ambiguous relationship with this man before, and he even proposed to his woman. This man appeared next to Jian-Yuman when he was not with her, and he has been haunting him ever since. Be careful, otherwise you may be exploited. When Tangyuj came over, Kenny was still coaxing Jian-Yuman and didn't even notice the dangerous king jealousy approaching. In addition, he was squatting on the ground and fell to the ground with a strong kick from Tangyuj. He had no time to get up. Kenny, who was pushed to the ground, saw Tangyuj looking angry and glaring at him with hatred. Instead, he sat on the ground and smiled, smiling freely and openly. You are so ridiculous, Tangyuj shouted with an unhappy look on his face. Jian-Yuman turned around and saw Tangyuj pushing Kenny. She felt a little guilty for Kenny. When she saw him being pushed, she immediately stood up unhappily and roared at Tangyuj. What are you doing? Why are you pushing people away when you're doing well? Jian-Yuman finished yelling at Tangyuj, and immediately squatted down to help Kenny up on the ground, asking with a guilty look on his face. Appa. Are you okay? Are you injured anywhere? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1182. Chapter 1182. The King of Vinegar has a strong smell of vinegar too. What are you doing? Why are you pushing people away when you're doing well? Jian-Yuman finished yelling at Tangyuj, and immediately squatted down to help Kenny up on the ground, asking with a guilty look on his face. Appa. Are you okay? Are you injured anywhere? Before Kenny could answer, Tangyuj next to him replied with an unhappy look on his face. He was injured somewhere, so he pushed. He is not a tofu. Jian turned his head and threw the sharp eye knife at him. Can you just say a few words and apologize to Appa quickly? Why should I apologize? Tanyuj was dissatisfied and immediately shouted loudly. People who had not noticed what was happening here all looked over, and the waiters serving this restaurant also had curious eyes. They recognized that the most handsome and enchanting man among them was their big boss Tanyuj. As for Kenny, he was even more famous. He was the dream lover of unmarried women all over the world. His reputation was countless times more famous than the low-key Tanyuj. When they realize that two outstanding men are jealous of a woman, everyone becomes even more curious. Who is that woman? Why let the chairman of the emigrant group and the son of the richest man quarrel over her? Jian, who didn't realize that they had become the center of attention, only thought about Tanyuj pushing Kenny, so she lectured him with a look of hatred. It's not right for you to push someone. Why should you push him to the ground if you are fine? You. Tanyuj pointed at Kenny and was so angry that he couldn't speak. You actually scolded me for the wild man outside? What Tanyuj said at this moment was actually similar to that of his son Little Mickey, who called Kenny a wild man. But his father didn't know that he was also a wild man in Little Mickey's mind. He would be very angry if he found out. There is no smoke coming out of the 7 orifices. What a wild man, you speak so unpleasantly, please apologize to Appa. Little funny boy, no need. Kenny patted Jian hand to stop her. He saw that it was very difficult for Tanyuj to apologize, and he didn't want to embarrass her. No, this is a matter of principle. Kenny didn't care, but Jian still insisted. This is a matter of tutoring. If Tanyuj is embarrassed outside, they will think that he has not taught women well. Tanyuj's face turned red with anger and his voice became much higher pitched by Jian attitude of defending Kenny. You still want to defend him? I didn't come over to help you vent your anger when I saw you cry because of him. If you still insist on defending him, are you going to abandon me and be with this wild man? What are you talking nonsense? I was moved, not sad, and you came here to settle the score before you even figured it out, really. What you say is quite reasonable. Touched, Tanyuj looked a little embarrassed when he heard that he was moved to tears by Kenny. Besides, I came here to make something clear to Appa. We are very good friends now, so don't call Appa a wild man anymore, do you understand? I know the expression on Tanyuj's face was even more exciting, embarrassment and embarrassment. He didn't expect that so many things happened while he was away. Then he really misunderstood Kenny Bryce. So, apologize quickly. Jian insisted that Tanyuj apologize. Tanyuj looked reluctant, but when he saw Jian insistent expression, he glanced elsewhere. I'm going to catch up on the drama, there will be an update later. Don't wait any longer and watch it every morning. Spoiler time, Lily I will appear later. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1183. Chapter 1183. Mr. Tang proposes marriage. 1. Tanyuj looked reluctant, but when he saw Jian insistent expression, he glanced elsewhere. His eyes were wandering, but even if they didn't fall on Kenny, the expression on his face was also a look of reluctance, as if he was being forced by Jian. I'm sorry. Tanyuj's apology voice was just a little bit louder than a mosquito's chirp, not much, but if you want to hear it clearly, you have to have dog ears. Disaster. Speak louder. Jian patted Tanyuj on the shoulder vigorously, showing a taming attitude. Poor Tanyuj glanced at Jian, and finally stepped up the pressure in frustration. Sorry. That's about right. Jian nodded with satisfaction. Although his expression was not sincere at all, as if someone owed him hundreds of millions. At least he apologized. Tang Yu's heart was indeed complaining about the woman with her arms turned outward. I think you've almost eaten, you can give me my woman back. Tang Yu stretched out his hand, grabbed Qian Yuman and walked out. What he said was to explain the matter, and then he took her away without saying a few nonsense. What are you doing? Tang Yuj, don't pull me, I haven't said goodbye to Appa yet. Hey, 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 Qian Yuman was forcibly taken away by Tang Yuj despite her unwillingness. She could only wave her hands and say goodbye from a distance. Goodbye, Kenny. Kenny smiled and waved goodbye to her until the two of them disappeared from sight. The moment Qian Yuman disappeared in front of his eyes, it seemed that all his strength had been drained out of him. He fell down on the chair and looked at the meals on the table, feeling lost for a while. Tang Yuj, who took Qian Yuman with him, did not go all the way to other places, but took him directly to the hotel upstairs. The entire building where they are located belongs to their group. Downstairs is the Royal Hotel, and upstairs is the hotel for people to stay, as well as other businesses. Boss Tang, the new wife slave and the aggrieved jealous King Xiao Mianmai, took his newly reunited girlfriend upstairs to get a room. At this moment, his expression was uncertain, sometimes unhappy, sometimes sad, sometimes feeling aggrieved. Anyway, within a second it can change into several expressions in a short period of time. What are you doing? What are you doing? Opening the door and closing it in one go, a jealous king pressed an innocent woman against the door, pressed her with his body, and kissed her hard. The kiss came so suddenly that the words he wanted to say got stuck in his throat. It's just like a child who was robbed of candy. Qian Yuman smiled helplessly, hugged his neck, kissed him back for a while, and then pushed him away. She was panting slightly while muttering dissatisfiedly. You pulled me here before I was full. At any rate, she had said what needed to be said to Kenny, and her purpose for the night had been achieved. However, when did the man in front of her become so jealous? Anyway, I don't want to see you with other men. If you want to eat, I can ask the chef to bring it to you personally. As a big boss, he still has this ability. When Qian Yuman heard this, he burst into laughter and sighed helplessly. Be defeated by him. Tang Yuj held Qian Yuman's face with a serious face and expressed his love affectionately. Honey, let's get married, register for remarriage tomorrow. As he spoke, Tang Yuj conjured a ring from behind like a magic trick. The ring was neither big nor small, with a unique design and very beautiful. Qian Yuman looked at the ring in his hand and then at him, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. Guess whether Manman will agree. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1184. Chapter 1184. Mr. Tang proposes marriage to. Qian Yuman looked at the ring in his hand and then at him, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. Qian Yuman was speechless. If she remembered correctly, they only became boyfriend and girlfriend yesterday, so how could they have proposed marriage today? The point is, it's not romantic at all. Except for the ring, there are no flowers, no romantic environment, not even a kneel down to propose. In this mode of proposal, she only wants to answer one word. No. Qian Yuman rejected Tang Yuj expressionlessly, using simple words, but she was unwilling anyway. Tang Yuj didn't expect that she would reject his proposal without even thinking about it. When she heard it, she thought she had heard it wrong, and she had a confused expression on her face for a few seconds. Why? Why? There is no reason. If you don't understand why I rejected you, then why should I marry you? When you find out, I may change my mind. Qian Yuman raised her eyebrows and answered indifferently. The meaning was already very obvious. Yes, it is impossible to agree today. No, you must agree to remarry me. I have been thinking about this day for a long time. Mr. Tang disagreed and took her hand to put on the ring. This is a forced marriage. The expression on Jian Yuman's face became very interesting. She wanted to beat the domineering man in front of her to death, and was angry at why she fell in love with such an emotional idiot. Will you agree to my proposal or not? Tang Yuj directly suppressed her body with his body, pressing her with his whole body to prevent her from escaping. Don't marry, don't marry, don't marry, who wants to marry you? We have just started dating, and you have forgotten what you promised me yesterday. Take it one step at a time. You have to be in love for 2 or 3 years. What? 2 or 3 years? Tang Yuz's eyes were so shocked that he couldn't believe that Jian Yuman said these words. His hair will turn gray in 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, go and ask other boyfriends and girlfriends how long they have been dating before getting married, even 4 to 5 years, 7 or 8 years. If you continue to force marriages, I will fall in love with you and never marry you. When the time comes, when I meet a good man, I have almost no choice. Jian Yuman threatened Tang Yuj with a ferocious expression. It was only because this man was so bad that he forced her to get married, and he also suppressed her to prevent her from running away. Other women might do this, but she didn't. Okay, Tang Yuj was as defeated as a rooster, with his shoulders hunched and his charming eyes looking at him sadly, using his expression to accuse Jian Yuman of how bad he was. It's nothing. I'm going back to where I live. You can be happy and live your life however you want. As soon as Tang Yuj heard that Jian Yuman was leaving, he immediately entangled her and refused to let her go. In the end, Jian Yuman couldn't help but wanted to leave, and was alone in the hotel room. After sending Jian Yuman back to the hotel where he was staying, he immediately called Comrade Ji Fan, a master of relationship counseling. Ji Fan heard what happened between Jian Yuman and Tang Yuj, and was immediately teased and laughed at for 4 or 5 minutes. You're still laughing, and you haven't told me why you were rejected. His old face turned red as his friend kept laughing. Young Master Tang, you really have an incredible IQ and not enough emotional intelligence. You know how big the scene was when I proposed to my wife. She was so moved that she couldn't control her tears and sniffles and threw herself at me. I said in my arms that she wanted to marry me. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1185. Chapter 1185 Mr. Tang proposes marriage 3. Young Master Tang, you really have an incredible IQ and not enough emotional intelligence. You know how big the scene was when I proposed to my wife. She was so moved that she couldn't control her tears and sniffles and threw herself at me. I said in my arms that she wanted to marry me. That's because Zixi is easy to cheat. Young Master Tang was still resisting stubbornly, thinking that it was not his problem. I said you are Kukaki, you are a person who has gone through a failed marriage, but, no wonder Xiao Monair wanted to leave you before for someone like you who doesn't know how to be romantic, who would want to marry you. What you said? You are asking for a beating, right? Tang Yuj became angry and wanted to scold Ji Fan. Ji Fan spoke like this. He was afraid that the world would not be in chaos. He would dig in wherever there was excitement. He would definitely want to laugh at Tang Yuj at the scene. With his humble character, I really don't know why those women all like him to death. If he were a woman, he wouldn't be able to hide in time. Brother and sister Mo Zixi is so pitiful. Look. Look. I'm so angry. I've given you the key points, but you don't understand romance. Can you, Mr. Tang, please give me something to do with a marriage proposal, which is a major decision for a woman? A ring. I just want to get a wife, there is no such thing as cheap. This kind of thing requires careful preparation and planning, so that the beloved woman will be moved and think you are a reliable man, and she will agree to you. Ji Fan revealed his identity as a former and a leader in coaxing women, and taught Tang Yuj how to coax women and how to get Jian Yuman to agree to his proposal. He talked for half an hour. Fortunately, Tanyuj is a very smart man. Only after being nudged by Ji-fan did he realize how big a mistake he had made and how bad his proposal was just now. There was no preparation, no premeditation. Even though Jian Yuman had dinner with Kenny Bryce not long ago, he still got jealous and ran over to the woman. Maybe in her mind, he wasn't careful enough. Tanyuj, who had been educated, went to find a bunch of books on women's love psychology. He had read a few of these books casually when he was studying for his doctorate, but now he needs to study them in depth. It is said that women's thoughts are the most difficult to guess. Even the smart Tanyuj still needs a lot of brains. Furthermore, they have not been together for more than 2 years, and many things are slightly different from before. For example, the character Kenny appeared next to Jian Yuman, and she was moved to tears just now, so she had to be careful. After Jian Yuman left Tanyuj, she immediately rushed to Xiaoling's house. The reason why she insisted on leaving was because she was worried about her son. Chao Xiaofeng had always helped her take care of her child, but now she was still in the hospital recuperating, and she had almost forgotten her child's whereabouts. After the accident, little Mickey was taken to Lan Tianlu's home, and Lan Tianlu's wife took little Mickey with her. It has been 2 days and 2 nights since she left the child with Xiaoling. She was very worried about whether the child would have good food and drink at Xiaoling's house. Have you cried most of the night because you missed your mommy? If little Mickey was next to him at this moment, he would definitely be looking at mommy with an indifferent expression, mocking Jian Yuman. It's fun to imagine, but the reality is cruel. As a cool little man, how could he think what mommy thinks? Crying. It is absolutely impossible. Jian Yuman quickly felt Xiaoling's house, and the facts were placed in front of her. Jian Yuman had greeted Jian Yuman in advance and rushed over. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1186. Chapter 1186 Mr. Tang proposes marriage for. Jian Yuman quickly felt Xiaoling's house, and the facts were placed in front of her. Jian Yuman, who had greeted her in advance and rushed over, did not see her son rushing towards her when she entered the house. Instead, she was faced with a serious look on her face. Sitting and playing with the cute little mixed-race boy with blonde hair and sky-blue eyes. The little boy is Xiaoling's son Xiao Amy, whose name is Lan Alan. It's a coincidence that this little guy is only a few months older than Mickey Mouse, and his nickname is only one character different from Mickey Mouse's. When Jian Yuman arrived, she saw 2 little milk babies. There were Othello chess pieces on the table, and the 2 little guys were playing chess meticulously. Seeing Jian Yuman's golden tooth expression, Xiaoling burst into laughter. How cute! I just took a lot of photos, Xiaoling said, taking out her phone, quickly flipping through the photos on her phone, and sharing the photos she just took with Jian Yuman. The photos were so cute that Jian Yuman wanted to print them all out and hang them on the wall to show off to others. The children are so cute. Little Amy is almost 2 years old, and little Mickey is only 2 years and 4 months old. They are both still little babies. Unlike little Mickey, who was sternly pinching the black piece and thinking about where to play, little Amy had a very cute expression on her face. She was smiling and shaking her head, holding white words in her hand, shaking her head and urging little Mickey to play chess quickly. Can they really play chess? Jian Yuman seriously doubted whether these 2 children knew how to play chess. How big they are. Little Mickey was her son. She knew that this kid fell in love with Go a few months ago, so she often pulled her to play. But can little Amy do it? No, Xiaoling said with a smile. My son is not as smart as your son. He is playing blindly. My husband has been behind me in the past few games to know about little Amy. He just got called away by a phone call from the company. He is playing blindly this time. Xiaoling explained with a smile, looking at his son and little Mickey in front of him. The serious look between the two little babies is so cute. Little Amy heard her mother complaining about her from a distance, looked over, and told her mother with a look of resentment. "Mommy, I can. I can." The little guy's milky voice was still very serious, and his words were waxy and very cute. His swaying blonde hair also fluttered a few times, thinking of his angry expression. "I believe you have a ghost." Xiaoling ruthlessly exposed her son's lies. She said, "You don't believe that your son can play chess?" "Daddy just taught me all afternoon, and I already understand a little bit," little Amy protested, dissatisfied. "It's your turn," little Mickey reminded. "Oh," little Amy immediately moved her gaze back, frowning, looking at the layout on the table. After looking at it for a while, I immediately placed one. Qian Yuman walked behind the two of them and took a look at the chess game. She really found that little Amy knew how to make a few moves. Although the move she made was not the best, it would not bring down her chess game. As for Xiaoling, she walked up behind her son and took a look at the chess game. She really found that her son could play a little bit better after an afternoon of hard work. It's not much, but at least it's not terrible. She had played a lot of chess with her grandfather before, so she could tell at a glance that this kid had been taught by Lan Tianlu all afternoon and had already learned a little bit. Not bad. As expected of my son, he actually knows a little bit. Not bad, not bad. Going to watch dramas. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1187. Chapter 1187. Tanyuj was misunderstood as stepfather. Xiaoling felt very relieved at the moment and praised her son's increasing IQ. She was happy that her son's IQ was not inherited from her. Two little milk babies were playing chess in a serious manner, and the two adults gathered together to chat and gossip. "Senior sister, does old Tang know about your secret birth of a son?" Xiaoling smiled evilly, like a member of the Communist Party of China. Qian Yuman shook her head. She didn't know. She didn't think clearly about this question. Did Tanyuj know about it? Because so many things happened in the past 2 days, she didn't think about it in this aspect. "I probably already knew it, but I don't know why I didn't ask her." When she was taking care of Chao Xiaofeng in the hospital, it was Tanyuj who picked her up and took care of her first, and then Xiaoling followed and took care of her for more than a day. The expression on Xiaoling's face became more and more cunning. "It seems that it's almost time for you to remarry. From now on, the four of us wives can go out for parties more often." Xiaoling took Qian Yuman and chatted for a long time. In the evening, Qian Yuman stayed overnight. At the same time, Rang also met Xiaoling's noble mother-in-law, who she heard was the next queen of a certain country. She later married Lan Tianlu's father and lived in the imperial capital. Little Mickey and little Amy have had a friendship for a long time. Xiaoling is one of the few friends of Tanyuj who knows that Qin Yi Man has a crush on little Mickey. When he was shopping with little Mickey in Paris, he met Lan Tianlu and his wife. Qian Yuman asked the couple to help him keep a secret. From then on, Xiaoling would always find opportunities to play with them, and she would bring little Amy with her when she came. One of the two children was lively and cheerful, and the other serious and cool. They were particularly fun when they were together. At night, the mother and son were in the guest room of the Lan family. Qian Yuman held the little one in her arms and looked at the scenery outside. "Little Mickey, let me ask you a question. How did you get along with Uncle Tanyuj the day before yesterday?" Qian Yuman asked tentatively. "Not good." Little Mickey's cool face was full of unhappiness. "That bad uncle is so annoying." Qian Yuman was speechless, and began to sympathize with Tanyuj in her heart. She was actually hated by her son and was called a bad uncle. Did that uncle say anything strange to you yesterday? Little Mickey tilted his head, trying to remember. Yes. He has been taking advantage of me and asked me to call him Daddy. Mommy. You don't really want to marry the bad guy uncle. Let him be my stepfather. I don't agree. I don't want this bad guy uncle to be my stepfather. He is good and bad, I hate him, I want you to marry my biological father. Little Mickey felt so angry when he thought that Tanyuj would quarrel with him every time he saw him. Every time I lose the argument, I get very angry. How can an adult bully a child like that? It makes me not cool at all. Ha! Stepfather. Qian Yuman almost dropped her jaw when she heard what little Mickey said. Her eyes almost popped out when she looked at her son. My son actually thinks. So funny. Qian Yuman couldn't help but laugh, and she laughed out of control. She kept shaking her shoulders and laughter leaked from her mouth from time to time. Poor Mr. Tang, not only is he hated by his son, but he now thinks that he should be his stepfather. But after listening to a few words from little Mickey, she could conclude that Mr. Tang knew about little Mickey's existence. In fact, as long as he does a little research on her life in New York, he should know the truth. No, don't ask me why. I don't know what to write next. Crazy. I have to get up early during the day tomorrow to play the plot, and try my best to get through it. Then update. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1188. Chapter 1188 Cheating His Son 1. Little Mickey asked seriously with a stern face and his soft little paws holding Mommy's face. Mommy, tell me if my bad uncle will become my stepfather. No, Qian Yuman denied it seriously. Then she thought about her son saying that Tanyuj might be his stepfather, and she couldn't help but laugh. Qian Yuman's strange reaction made little Mickey confused. Why is Mommy always laughing? Is there anything he said that is strange? But when he heard that Tanyuj would not be his stepfather, he instantly breathed a sigh of relief. Son, if I tell you that Tanyuj is your biological father, will you still hate him? Qian Yuman asked interestingly, with a playful expression on his face, which can be said to be a bit cunning. It was almost time for her to tell her son who his biological father was. The two of them already understood it in their hearts, and they just needed to find a chance to talk things out. Little Mickey blinked and pouted after hearing Qian Yuman's words. Mommy, no assumptions. Yes means it, no means no, what is if? Mommy, I know who is my biological daddy. It's Su Warong, right? Just when Qian Yuman was about to tell her son that Tanyuj was his father, little Mickey suddenly asked if Qian Yuman and Su Warong were him. Biological daddy. Qian Yuman's feet staggered and she almost fell to the ground, looking at her son in horror. Baby, why do you think this way? Why does his genius son think that Su Warong is his father? Little Mickey is very serious and analyzes things carefully. Because he is as cool as me, especially the gesture with the gun. He is really cool. Last time when we went to rescue Aunt Xiaofeng, they even drove an armored vehicle. I have only seen that thing in movies before. He really wanted to sit and watch. Hearing her son's analysis, Qian Yuman felt even more sorry for Tanyuj. Not only was her son mistaken for him as his stepfather, she even suspected that the senior was the child's biological father. The expression on little Mickey's face became a little excited. He hugged Mommy's neck and his eyes were shining. Mommy, can you let me ride in an armored vehicle? There are also tanks and fighter jets. The little guy's little head has already marked that Su Warong is his biological father. Qian Yuman laughed and shook his head. Baby, actually, Mommy wants to break your illusion. Su Warong is not your biological father. No, the little guy had a disappointed expression on his face. Son, there is something I have to tell you. Your biological daddy and I have gotten back together recently. I will introduce you to him in a few days. From now on, our family can live together, and your biological daddy, it's the bad guy Uncle Tanyuj you call. Qian Yuman didn't care whether her son understood or not the emotional compounding issues she talked about, she just picked out some key points. The little guy is still young and doesn't have the complicated brain to think about emotional issues between elders. She only needs to say that they can become a family and live together in the future. Tanyuj is his biological father, and that is enough. The expression on the little guy's face immediately became frightened, and he covered his little mouth. From now on, I have to live with my bad uncle. Oh no, little Mickey doesn't want to live with his bad daddy. The little guy understood and immediately shook his head and protested. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1189. Chapter 1189, Cheating Son 2. Mommy, don't marry a bad daddy, I don't want a bad uncle to be my daddy. Little Mickey hugged Mommy's head and started acting like a baby. His thoughts are still very simple. If they live together in the future, the bad guy dad will definitely bully him every day. The bad guy dad doesn't know how to give in to himself. This kind of adult is not cool at all. He wants a cool daddy, not brownies. He takes over Mommy's daddy every day. He wants to change his daddy. Son, please accept the reality, regardless of whether Mommy will be with your biological father or not, you are destined to be his son. Little Mickey almost shed manly tears. He hugged Qian Yuman and kept saying that he didn't want this daddy and asked his mommy to replace him. He wanted to choose a cool daddy. Just like this, the little guy made a fuss all night long. When I went to bed one after another, I kept talking about wanting to change my father to a different father, not the bad one I have now, and so on. Qian Yuman began to sympathize with Tanyuj again. Little Mickey got up early the next morning, brushed his teeth and washed his face. After getting up in the morning, he had decided to be a cheating son. As a gifted child who is about to be 2.5 years old, what he has to do is to find a cool daddy for himself. He needs to choose a good one now and give it to Mommy, and let Mommy take the bad daddy. Replace it? When Qian Yuman got up, she only heard a voice message and didn't even see her son. Still at Xiaoling's house, when I found out that my son was picked up by Kenny, I felt relieved instantly. After saying goodbye to the Lan family, I went to work. After little Mickey got up early in the morning, Zhou Siya wanted to find a father for himself, so he chose a good one among Mommy's many suitors. Su Warong, a cool man, is the number 2 candidate, and the number 1 daddy candidate is naturally the godfather who loves Mommy the most. If you ask little Mickey now who his favorite person is, it is naturally his godfather Kenny Bryce. Little Mickey even thought that his godfather was his biological father. Later, behind Qian Yuman's back, he secretly asked Kenny if he was his biological father. So the next morning, a phone call came and he called Kenny, who was still in the imperial capital, to pick him up. Originally, Qian Yuman was going to entrust little Mickey to Kenny today. She would find a chance to explain to Tanyuj clearly about the existence of little Mickey in the evening. Who would have known that little Mickey found Kenny early in the morning and picked him up while Qian Yuman was still asleep? However, the Lan family and the Bryce family have a very good relationship, and Xiaoling is also Kenny's god-sister, so Kenny was not blocked when he came to pick up little Mickey, and even stayed for breakfast before leaving. At this moment, Qian Yuman had no idea what her son was thinking. She thought that no matter how smart her son was, she would not have thought that his next move would surprise her. My son is still young, and he only does things based on his preferences. He didn't listen to the little guy's words about hating Tanyuj, and even took practical actions. After seeing Kenny, the little guy hugged his godfather's neck and acted like a baby. "Godfather, will you marry my mommy?" the little guy said very seriously. "It's a pity that your mommy won't marry." "I can help you." The little guy's expression was serious, making Kenny laugh. "What, you suddenly want to help me?" "Because I don't like my bad daddy, I want to replace him. If you help me, I will give you my mommy," the little guy said solemnly, with a particularly interesting expression. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1190. Chapter 1190, Cheating Son 3. "Because I don't like my bad daddy, I want to replace him. If you help me, I will give you my mommy," the little guy said solemnly, with a particularly interesting expression. "Oh, how can you help me?" Kenny spoke in a relaxed tone, looking at little Mickey in his arms, who was serious about changing his father. "I'm actually curious about what shocking things this little guy can say. I don't like my mommy's current boyfriend, so I want to find a good man for her. In my opinion, you are the best godfather, so for the sake of a happy life for you and me in the future, let's break them up together." The guy said this very quickly and smoothly, and Kenny was shocked after he finished speaking. "Little Mickey, if your biological father hears what you said, you will be in trouble in the future." "Will it?" Little Mickey frowned and thought. "No matter. As long as I succeed, I won't suffer." His goal? To replace Daddy. Replace Daddy. Replace Daddy. "I won't join in with you anymore." Kenny smiled and pinched little Mickey's nose. "If you want to do bad things, don't get involved with me. If your mommy finds out that I am taking you to destroy their relationship, be careful that you will be revoked even in my name as godfather." "Humph. Coward, this is gambling." "Gambling?" The little guy patted Kenny on the shoulder, trying to persuade Kenny to commit adultery with him. Unfortunately, Kenny's heart was as solid as a rock, and it was useless no matter what he said. "Godfather, I finally know why you can't pursue my mommy." The little guy looked desperate after spending a lot of time trying to convince Kenny. "Little Mickey, come on, your godfather is watching with popcorn in his hands." Kenny smiled and supported little Mickey in trying to break up Jian-Yuman. He wouldn't do it himself, but thinking about Mickey Mouse now saying that he wants to replace his daddy, he still laughed with schadenfreude in his heart. Although he didn't get a little tease, he was happy to think that little Mickey would do a lot of things to break up their parents. Who made Tanyuj so arrogant before? With his biological son in it, he was still happy to see it, because he could see Tanyuxi's embarrassment and poor look. Not a interesting thing. "Godfather, wait for me here, I will come to you when I come down." At the entrance of the Dehao Group's Imperial Capital branch, little Mickey stood on the ground, waving his little paws to say goodbye to Kenny, and couldn't help but ask before leaving. "Are you sure you don't want to come up with me? The alliance will always exist." "Goodbye." Kenny waved his hand and walked to the mall next door, deciding to find some food to pass the time instead of following little Mickey to trick his father. Little Mickey carried a small bag and walked into the Emgrand Group building with short legs. As soon as the little guy entered, the beautiful front desk lady saw him and bumped into another front desk clerk. She whispered that she hated how cute this little guy was. Little Mickey came to the front desk and raised his head. "Two beautiful sisters, I want to see your chairman Tanyuj." "Is he here?" "Are you here? But kid, what are you doing with our chairman? Are you here with your mother? Do you have an appointment?" "It's so troublesome to make an appointment to see him." The little guy frowned and looked at the two beautiful receptionists in front of him with some distress. His expression changed and he was ready to stage an annual drama. End of this chapter.